We are live. Wonderful. Hey, everyone. Yay! Come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in. Welcome, 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 welcome. Sibanda P says, hey. Teddy Ndlovu says, Zama. That's what my grandmother used to call me. The foodie chef. Hey, hi, foodie chef. Hello. Zoe's in the house. She says, Ismomondia. For those who don't know, Ismomondia, it's a Zulu word, okay? That means the gorgeous one. So thank you. I love you, Zoe. Lebza, hi, sis Nomzamo. Hey, everyone. Sanbonan. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. Come on in. It's the Take Your Shot series. We're back. As you know, every month we're here. Rosh Eli, we are here. We sure are. Esihle says, hey, beautiful queen. Hello, Esihle. Welcome. Sanamgela. Lakaya, hey, pretty lady. Hey, we tried. What's up? Hey. Alright, to love the energy. Yes. First of all, if you're in Johannesburg, you have been experiencing this heat wave today, and we're supposed to be in a supposed winter, or the end of winter, but it just does not feel like winter at all. I suppose the spring is coming, and I am not looking forward to spring because I always get hay fever. So, yeah, those who love spring, Sianbongela, good for you. Refile, hey, gorgeous. Refile just came back from performing. Just amazing. Can't wait to catch it here locally. Please bring it back. Ndlovukazi, hey everyone. So this is the Take Your Shot series with the Earthshot prize as well as MultiChoice Group and myself. If you're new around here, we've been having the Take Your Shot series for the past couple of months, and it has been amazing to see so many African innovators who are just doing incredible work. If you don't know about the Earthshot prize is a global environmental award that was founded by the Royal Foundation and His Royal Highness Prince William. And of course, it is to celebrate as well as to find innovators, global impactful innovators who are doing everything to save our planet. There are 5 pillars to the Earthshot Prize. It is to build a waste-free world, to fix our climate, to revive our oceans, to clean our air, and to protect and restore nature. And today we have a very special woman who is just incredible, and I can't wait to chat to her. She has just done amazing work in fashion and textile sustainability, okay? I have become so aware about where my clothes come from. Are they sustainable? What are they doing in terms of recycling? So I'm very interested to have this conversation with her because she's tackling one of the pillars for the Earthshot Prize, which is to build a waste-free world. And I can't wait to have this conversation with her. I know that she's already on standby. Hazel R says, everything that I stand for. Same here. Now, what I love to do when we do our Take Your Shot series, what do you care about? If you care about nature, send me a tree. Put up the tree emoji. If you care about the ocean, send a wave. You know, if you care about the air, there's like a little poof that the emoji on Apple has. So send that as well in the comments. I want to see what you guys really, truly care about. And of course, to fix our climate, send like a globe, you know, like a nice little earth globe. That would be amazing. I'd love to see that. I'm constantly trying to see if we are moving forward. Are we moving forward when it comes to really being conscious about our world, our environment? Are we doing enough, right? Are we recycling? Are we aware about our clothes? Are we aware about the different things that we do in our everyday life that impacts this planet that needs to exist for much more centuries to come? Look at that. There's a lot of oceans happening. Klamwe has a globe, so you care about the earth. Okay, fantastic. Oh, some more trees. A lot of trees. Yay, I'm loving this. Magic Life says, I everything. Yes, I everything too. I everything. Nami futi, everything. So I'm very grateful to MultiChoice Group to be able to do this Take Your Shot series. And of course, now we are going to be chatting to Esetu Enga from Rewoven. We're going to find out about her businesses and different organizations that she has that tackle fashion and textile. And of course, we also want to know, how do you just become passionate about it? Did you study it? Did you not? Right? We want to know all about those things. And so we're going to have a conversation with her, and I'm so excited about that conversation. Please, please, please remember this. The Earthshot Prize is coming to South Africa. Last year they were in Singapore. So South Africa, Cape Town, we get to host it this year in November. I am so excited because, first of all, when it comes to, showing the world a good time, I think South Africa really knows how to do that. We're so hospitable, and also we just know how to put together a fantastic, fantastic hospitable event. So I'm very excited for the Earthshot Prize to come to South Africa in November. But I'm particularly excited as well with the Take Your Shot series, because we get to highlight African innovators who are doing something about the climate. I'm really, really, really excited about that, and I'm just glad that we get to do this. So without further ado, let me add Esetu and let's get this conversation going. I hope you guys can stay. Please stay. Please stay. We're constantly trying to find different ways of finding innovative solutions, right? And also there's no unilateral way of doing life anymore, right? So it's always great to just really connect with people who are thinking outside the box, but who are able to make, just make a contribution, right? So I am very, very excited for this conversation. Yes, sounds interesting, sounds exciting. Yes, finally we're doing something about the climate. These comments are fantastic, by the way, and I usually get very distracted by comments, but I am very, very happy with these. So I'm going to, I hope we get to hear scientists' point of view. Okay, let's see the request. We are here to stay. Fantastic. Please stay. We are in for a treat. We are in for a treat. Dando. Hi, Dando. We're staying. Fantastic. We are here to stay. Yay.
Hey, hi, how are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Can you hear me just fine?
You're perfect. Perfect,
Okay, cool,
perfect.
good.
Your network is nice and clear, so we're definitely not going to have any distractions this evening.
Perfect. Awesome. Glad to hear it then.
Where are you calling in from?
I am in Johannesburg, actually. So I actually recently relocated to Johannesburg. So I am taking this call from home
Oh, my soul. How long have you been in Johannesburg for?
for a week, for exactly 8
Oh,
days.
wow. Oh, my goodness. Okay. So less than a month. So you're very new.
I am so new. I am the newest thing in Johannesburg right now.
So first of all, you should be glad because Cape Town is going through a very cold front that has not ended, and
I
Joburg is
know.
in a weird summer. So you should be glad,
I
right?
know. I'm so happy to have left that like 6 month winter in Cape Town. And I'm excited because Cape Town, whenever it's September, when it's meant to be spring, it's never really spring. So I'm excited
Yeah.
to be in a place that's actually, when it's spring day, we can actually wear like skirts and things and actually enjoy it being spring.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Especially because I was just saying to a friend of mine today, I was like, I don't understand this heat. Why are we still in, why are we
Yeah,
in summer? Not supposed to
yeah.
be. Anyway, I'm not looking forward to spring because I get hay fever, so I sneeze all the time.
Mm,
But here we are. First of all, I'm so glad that we get to have this conversation. Welcome to the Take Your Shot series.
thank
Welcome,
you.
welcome. Now you're
Um,
super, super duper accomplished. I've been following your journey, but also reading a lot on your bio. And we have a bunch of people on this live that want to know more about Rewoven. But before we get to Rewoven, I want to talk about your personal journey. You were born in the Eastern Cape, have a lot of
yes.
your life in Cape Town, and also your business as an entrepreneur has thrived a lot and really blossomed in Cape Town, I'd probably say. But you studied development economics, but you also have a PPE background. Can you tell us more about your education background?
Sure. Yeah, so it's actually very interesting because when I was in high school, I actually had no idea what I wanted to study. Because when I was in high school, I was just so drawn to fashion, but I was suspect about whether I would be actually able to do a career in fashion. So as much as that's where my heart was, I ended up studying politics, philosophy, and economics. That was my undergraduate degree at the University of Cape Town, which I think was the right thing to have happened, because I think that if I never studied PPE, if I never studied development economics, I would have never understood the sustainable part of sustainable fashion. And what PPE really allowed me to do was it gave me a lens to look at the world through the different power dynamics that are at play, looking at the economy and some of the impacts of the economy, not only in just the world, but also like positioning Africa as well in this economy, and like why is Africa in this position, and how has politics had a role to play with it. And also studying philosophy has also like helped me to be kind of a critical thinker and to dive deep into like why is the world like this.
Right.
And so it really gave me a perspective of understanding the global economy, but really understanding Africa's position in that economy, and maybe like some of the solutions as well that we can look at to try and get Africa out of this. So I've always been kind of just passionate about development, passionate about topics like inequality, unemployment, poverty, and how is it that we can make everyone live a better life, really. And I think that's what drew me to development economics.
Now, did you already know? How does, obviously having that point of view of philosophy, politics, and economics, how do you bridge that gap to fashion? Obviously, I'm sure you loved fashion. You were passionate about fashion.
Yeah.
But what is it that then tells you, let me find the synergies, let me find the nexus of these things, and find my true passion in ways that I can be able to impact both?
I think things just kind of happened organically, as when you're young, you don't really know what you want to do, and things kind of just led me to be here. But I will say that, so when I was studying development economics, I was in my master's year when I was doing development economics. And I've always loved fashion, but like I said, I just never thought that I would be doing it as a career. And so at the time in my master's degree, I was writing my thesis. And I was like, oh gosh, like I have to decide after this thesis, after my master's, I have to decide, what am I going to do with my life? Am I going to do a PhD? Am I going to find a job and, study, work under someone else's organization? Or am I going to do my own thing? So I was kind of in that space that a lot of young people are in, like, what am I going to do with my life? And during my master's thesis, there happened to be a part of our studies that looked at the global clothing value chain. And I was like, yes, finally, I get to study about fashion, but it's kind of linked to development. And really the whole thesis, or like the whole point of studying about clothing in development, was getting us to understand how important the clothing industry is for development. And if we look at Asia, a lot of us know that a lot of our clothing, from the global perspective, a lot of our clothing is made in the Asian countries. So we studied a lot about that and how they were able to develop. Obviously they were able to really tackle inequality and poverty, and unemployment. But we also learned about the dark sides of how it is that the clothing production has affected them. One of the things that I began to be very uncomfortable about was how clothing was very exploitative to the people who make the clothes. A lot of the people who make our clothes tend to be women, particularly women of color. They also tend to be really young women. And this is also at the context of Fees Must Fall, where I was also beginning to become really passionate about this idea of acting in alignment with your values. So when I began to learn about that, this is how my clothes were made, they're exploiting, women of color, but then they're also exploiting the environment in which those clothes are made, which tends to be the developing world. I began to be very uncomfortable with my role as a fashion lover, as someone who was beginning to be passionate about, social justice and all of these issues. Like I couldn't really reconcile what I was now beginning to learn about how clothing was made. And so essentially that became my thesis. I was like, okay, from the perspective of someone who's writing from an African perspective, we need development, right, in Africa. That's why I'm here studying this. And you're telling me that clothing has a big part to play in this, but that there's a way in which we can use the clothing industry to develop, but not exploit, and not exploit people, and not exploit the environment. And so that kind of became what my thesis was about. How do we think about development from the African context? How can the clothing industry help in this? But how can we do this as Africa in a way that is not repeating mistakes of the past, where
So,
we are exploiting our people and exploiting our environment?
so
And that kind of took
you
off
move
from
from
there. Once I
that
did
to
my thesis, yeah.
so you move from that and suddenly there's the sustainability factor, which obviously affects our nature, right? How is that road trip? How do you move from, well, it's not a move, I suppose, it's just a continuation, right? Because you have to look at it from a holistic point of view in its oppressiveness, but also how does it then affect the nature that we get to, affect our earth,
Yeah,
right?
so
What was
yeah,
that move?
so one of the things that was very alarming to me was how, oh, sorry, I kind of missed you there. But I think one of the things that I learned that was really alarming when it came to the environment was how polluting the fashion industry was, and just how it's really a dirty business, how our clothes are made. Just from the beginning of the process, like when they make clothing, they use so much water. I think they say for one T-shirt, we need 2,700 liters of water just to make one T-shirt. And we are making about 100 billion items of clothing a year.
Sure.
So I don't know how to do that maths, but if you can do that maths just to calculate how much water we need to make one piece of clothing is crazy. And then that's just the water. And then we learn about, like, when you dye your clothes, a lot of the dye is actually released into the rivers. And there's this joke in China where they say that we can tell the color that's in season by looking at the color of the rivers, because the rivers would be the color of the fashion dye. And then we get to the waste portion, which is obviously the portion that I'm quite passionate about, which is just learning how much fabric waste is in the clothing manufacturing process, just the manufacturing process alone. But then also now what happens, because of how fast and cheaply we're making the clothes,
Right.
we make them so that they can be cheap, so then they don't last, so then people dispose of them after, like, wearing them one time. I don't know if people have realized, but now when you buy a pair of jeans, I have this pair of jeans that I bought from this store about 2 years ago, and yeah, it's damaged, it's torn. I've put it in the washing machine a couple of times. The color is all gone out, and I've only had it for 2 years. And a lot of time, what happens is that people throw away these garments because they're not made to last. So really, the whole industry, just in addition to the fact that it's exploiting the people, I was really taken aback by the impact that it had on our environment. And there's a lot of this clothing that's actually also being made on the continent of Africa.
Wow. Okay. I knew this was going to be informative. I didn't know that this was going to be so revolutionary. I'm like, how do we throw away everything, right? I
I
want to
know.
speak about rewoven, right? Because rewoven has become the solution. How did that inception come about? And I know that it's also not a solo project, that you have partners in it. How did you guys come together? Was it a synergy of ideas? What is it, we were sitting around the coffee table and we all found out that we were all passionate about the same thing? How did that happen?
Yeah, so it's kind of in this journey that I was talking about, where so now I'm writing this thesis, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's just so much opportunity. There's a lot of problems, but there's a lot of opportunity, and I really fell in love with it. And after doing my thesis, I was like, I think I kind of want to do this full time. And I so happened to be part of an organization called the Alan Gray Orbis Foundation. And essentially, it's an entrepreneurial development organization for young people. And basically, if you do have an entrepreneurial idea and you're part of that network, you can explore that idea. They will kind of help you find the right funders, develop your business case, and then take your idea to the next level. So now I'm finished my master's thesis. I'm like, okay, I kind of want to really do this. And at the time, there was three of us working on the project. This was 2018. This was 2018. And there was two of us at the time, my one co-founder Tsepo and my other co-founder Lonwabo, and we were in a similar stage as well of kind of trying to figure out what we want to do with our lives, and we were just like, we kind of want to work on this, until we'll see what happens. We kind of want to work on this. And two of us were part of the organization, and we really just kind of pushed it. After my thesis, we joined an incubation program, we joined an accelerator program to see like, okay, cool, how can we really develop an idea around this? And like I mentioned, one of the things that I learned was about how much waste there was in the industry. But a lot of the information I was learning was coming from the global north, right? From Europe, from the US, because there wasn't a lot of information about what was happening in South Africa. And I'm in Cape Town at the time. I'm at UCT. I'm like, hey, Cape Town is a clothing manufacturing city. Let me just go speak to some clothing manufacturers and see what it is that they're doing with their waste. Lo and behold, we're speaking to clothing manufacturers, and they were like, we're just throwing it away, and there's a lot of waste. I was explaining to people how one of the factories that was our clients, they were throwing away about 5 tons of fabric waste a day. So yeah, there's a lot of waste a day. And a lot of this waste comes in the cutting process. So when you make clothes, they'll like draw the pattern. Yes,
so
and they'll put the paper. Exactly. That little fabric waste, we think it's like, oh, it's probably not a lot. One factory will throw away 5 tons a day of that. So when I'm saying we're making 100 billion,
I have a question.
yeah.
So what is the normal thing that they do in terms of, I know everyone is like a day, right?
I know.
What is the normal thing that an irresponsible factory will do in terms of the waste? They'll just send it to a landfill, and obviously the landfill will do whatever it is, or so I'm trying to understand, what is the wasteful thing, what is the harmful thing that they're doing, and where does Rewoven then come in and say, this is the solution that we want to come up with for this waste?
Yeah, so they throw it away, they'll just throw it away in a landfill, they'll throw it away. So a lot of these factories will be in industrial areas. Sometimes they'll throw it away next to township communities because, it's just open land. Let me just throw, nobody cares. Exactly. Nobody cares. It's already dirty anyway, so I'll just throw it away there. A lot of them will also burn it, but obviously this is an environmental problem. One, because we want to decrease the amount of waste that we have in landfill. And the reason we want to decrease the amount of waste we have in landfill is because when that waste sits there in the sun, it actually releases all of these harmful gases that then contribute to climate change and contribute to, all of the issues that we have when it comes to climate change. So waste is not good in landfills, as much as it's like out of sight, out of mind. But once it gets there and then it burns because of the sun, it releases all of these harmful gases in the air and also into our water as well. So Rewoven comes in by saying, don't throw this waste away, we'll actually get it recycled. And that was part of the thesis that I was writing, and the work that my co-founders and I were doing was to understand, could we take this waste and get it recycled like you would with, plastic waste? Can you do the same with fabric waste? And then can you make clothing or fabric or like you would make anything like another product from recycled plastic? Could we then make new clothing again from the recycled fabric waste? And our research showed us that we could do that. And then on top of that, what really made me excited was that recycling is very labor intensive. Like we've seen it, you see waste pickers, it needs people need to go and separate the waste and say, this is plastic, that's paper, that's tin. It's the same with textiles. I need to say, this is cotton, this is polyester, this is acrylic, and so forth. And so I was like, there's an opportunity to create jobs, which is obviously something that we need. And so that's really where the idea of Rewoven came from. So Rewoven really is in the business of recycling the fashion industry's waste and turning that waste into products that people can then retail. And then hopefully at the end of the life cycle of those products, bring them back to Rewoven so we can recycle them again. That
I
is the
want to
idea
talk
of
about
rewoven.
that part as well. I want you to explain to us what does it look like to repurpose. You take the 5 tons a day, for example, and what is the process of repurposing? What is the process of getting it into different accessories or the things that you guys get to turn it into, right?
Okay. Sure. So I don't want to be too jargony, but
You jargon,
there's
you
two.
jargoning. We want to know.
Okay, okay. Cool. So I'll talk about, so there's recycling, right? There's the world of recycling. In the world of recycling, there's downcycling, which means I'm taking something and I'm going to make it an inferior product. And then there's the world of upcycling, which I'm sure people have heard of, which is I take waste, I recycle it, but I make a better product than the product that was there before. So I'll explain this. So essentially what we would do in Cape Town, we would go to the clothing manufacturers or anyone really who has textile waste. We'd say, don't throw it away, bring it to Rewoven. It comes to Rewoven and it's very similar to how you would recycle paper or plastic. So I will explain that before then I get into textiles. So, with normal recycling of paper and plastic and tin, they will normally say you have to separate paper there, plastic there, tin there, and so forth. So it's the same with fabric recycling. So the fabric would come into our warehouse, and then our team will say, cool, that is cotton. We have to put cotton aside. We have to put polyester aside. We have to put acrylic aside. We have to put wool aside. So my team will literally sort through all of that. And sometimes they will also even sort it according to color. So all the black cotton is there, all the white cotton is there, and so forth. So going back to my plastic analogy, once you've got your plastic and your paper and so forth, you can now put it in your industrial process and then it can be recycled. So similarly with textiles, the same process happens. So our textiles are now separated according to the different fabric types and the different colors. They then get shredded. So big machine shreds it, and it basically becomes like a fluff. I call it like a cotton fluff again. I don't know if most people, if they've seen cotton, but cotton is like a fluff.
Yeah.
So basically now once it's in its like fluff form or cotton form, we call it fiber. Once it's back in its fiber form, it's like in its natural form now again. Now we can then properly start recycling it. So how you would normally make any fabric is that you take cotton, you then spin it, we call it spinning it, and you make it into a thread. So it's the same in recycling. So now we've broken our fabric down, it's now a cotton. Now we can spin it and we can make it into thread. Once it's been made into thread, we can now weave it and make it into fabric because we need thread to make fabric. And then once it's made into fabric, you can make clothing from it. So that's the upcycling process, which is the process that Rewoven is very passionate about. But there's also downcycling, so which is a lot of our textile waste goes into downcycling. So we basically collect it, we shred it, it goes into fiber form, and then it goes into products like stuffing material for your sofas. It goes into products like stuffing for toys, dog beds, the underneath of carpets. The underneath of carpets is made from recycled textiles. In your cars, the rear shelf, the back seat, and the mats in the cars are all made from recycled textiles. So a lot of our textile waste goes into that, into downcycling, but we're also very passionate and we're trying to innovate and trying to upcycle, but that's a big challenge. Upcycling is a huge
I'm
challenge.
sure. I mean, do you have to have a lot of partners, I suppose? You're talking about carpets, you're talking about cars, and so you constantly have to reach out to different, huge corporations, I
Yeah.
suppose, right? To be able to tap into what you have to offer. I have a question. How do you make money from this?
Sure. So yeah, that's a very interesting question. So when we started in Cape Town, because how we made money and how we're planning, because the company is also transitioning, is different. But how we've been primarily making money is through two ways. So we work with a lot of big clothing manufacturers, but we also work with small clothing manufacturers and small designers. But a lot of our revenue actually comes from your big manufacturers. So your TFGs, your Pep
Sure,
Clothes, your
sure, sure.
Levi. So those are the companies that we collect a lot of their textile waste. And because before Rewoven came
And do you
about, they
take
were
for
paying,
free? Did they give it to you for free, or do you have to pay for it at a super low
no, so
cost?
they pay for it. they pay us to take the waste away, because before Rewoven existed, they were paying a waste management company. So they will pay Rewoven because Rewoven is cheaper. Rewoven is also level 1 BEE, etc., etc. So they will pay Rewoven. It's a cost saving for them. They make sure that the waste is not going to landfill. It's a win-win for them. That's what the enterprise, the bigger clients who we earn a lot of revenue from. So they pay us, and then with the recycling partners that we have, the people who actually shred the material and then have it then made into the different products, they will then buy textile waste from us. So there's a huge market for textile waste, actually, both in South Africa, but also internationally. So we can sell the waste to other companies that want to make products from our waste, that they want to recycle it and make it into products. But with smaller manufacturers and designers, we would typically take it for free. If they were able to come drop it off at our factory, we were able to take the waste for free. But we were working, when we started, which we're still in that starting phase, because it's been about 3 years, a lot of our revenue was coming from those enterprise clients.
Fantastic. There's also this misconception that sustainable fashion is more expensive. Do you want to demystify that?
Yes, I do want to demystify that. I think, well, it will look expensive, right? Because I think that we also, we've gotten used to a world where we can buy a t-shirt for 50 Rand and we think that's normal, where that was never really the case. So a lot of sustainably made garments, we say in fashion, they come at the human cost, because now you're actually paying people what they are worth, and you're paying them for their time, and you're using the right materials. You're not cutting all these environmental corners. So the cost, if you compare it to some of the garments we have now, obviously it's going to look expensive, but that is actually the human cost. So that's the one argument about the cost of sustainably made garments. The second argument, I think, is that from a very consumeristic perspective, if we think that the solution to being more sustainable is to buy more things, then sure, it will look more sustainable. But there's other ways to be sustainable without buying things. Like we live in such a consumeristic world that we think sustainability means buying something that's sustainable. No, how about you reuse some things? How about you share garments? You don't have to buy something just because you have a party tomorrow. You can actually just share, ask to borrow. You can reuse things. You can repurpose things. And so when you look at it from that angle, because sustainability is really about reusing, recycling, repurposing, using less, being creative, valuing the things that you own. From that mindset, living in a sustainable way or consuming fashion in a sustainable way is not that expensive at all. And a lot of times it can actually be free, and it can actually be quite creative. Right now, I'm actually wanting to start a project where I make my own clothes, because,
I was
sometimes
about
you
to
want to wear
say, I'm
something.
thinking, why are we not hearing of a rewoven clothing store so that we know?
Maybe it's coming
And
soon. Maybe
I'm
it's
planting
coming
the seed.
soon.
I'm planting the seed. Please make sure you have like oversized shirts and oversized pants. You've got a customer here.
Yeah. So maybe it's coming soon, but I'm starting it on my own, like in my personal capacity, because sometimes you want something and like the shops don't really have exactly the thing that you want. So I was just like, I know how to make stuff. Like I know how to sew, and if I don't, I can always learn. So now I'm kind of wanting to start that process. But things like that, like to look good, you don't have to buy. Like we're just so conditioned, like everything, the solution is to buy or pay money, but it's the same with sustainable fashion. You don't have to do that. It's about reusing. It's about buying things. Another thing that I talk about a lot is if you're going to buy a pair of jeans that's cheap now, right, for, from one of these stores that I won't mention, for 100 Rand, if that pair of jeans in 2 years' time is going to be damaged and you're going to have to buy another pair of jeans that's going to last you another 2 years' time, in 5 years you spend so much money, versus if you actually bought something, a pair of jeans that's doesn't have to be like a luxury brand or anything, but it's right material, it's durable material, and it might be a little bit more expensive than the 200 Rand pair of jeans, but it's actually going to last you over a period of time. You're not going to have to replace that. It's actually going to last you. That is if we look at it like that, then I think sustainability is not as expensive as people think of it. But yes, we also need to get over the idea that clothing needs to be cheap, because we need to remember that people make that. So if you import something or you buy something and it costs 50 Rand, how much money did the person who made that earn?
We know those. They will remain nameless on this on this live. I want to talk
And they don't
about.
like me. Yeah,
Oh, do you call them out? Good.
I've gotten in trouble with some of them before. Yeah.
Listen, if you need a lawyer, we'll all do like a GoFundMe account or something. I want to move on to the Earthshot Prize, which I'm very excited about. And I want to speak about how you feel, the organization itself, right? How does it, for you as Rewoven, how do you feel supported by the platform, and what has been your relationship so far with the Earthshot Prize?
I actually haven't had much of a relationship with Earthshot Prize, obviously because
Yeah.
I'm in the space. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm in the sustainability space. I am quite familiar of their work. I think the award started in around 2020, 2021, somewhere there. And yeah, I think I applied, but it was very early days of Rewoven, so it might be worth us thinking about applying again. But I think organizations that do work such as the Earthshot Prize are doing much needed work, because we do need, like, as one of the entrepreneurs on the ground, one of the things we need is money. We need capital. We need to be supported, especially when it comes to the context of Africa. And that's also something I'm quite passionate about speaking about, because a lot of people think, Africa, like, we're not part of this sustainability conversation, climate change, like, we don't need to care about it. But the unfortunate instance, and this is something I learned from PPE, is that unfortunately Africa is kind of always at the brunt of
Sure.
these issues, these global issues. So whether we like it or not, unfortunately, so I know Africa will be the most negatively affected due to climate change. We don't have a lot of infrastructure. When floods happen, they obviously tend to affect us more. So I think funds like this need to prioritize, I think, money going to the African continent and the global south, and fund a lot of the initiatives that are happening there. But it's good. We need more money to go to projects like these. So yeah, I'm quite supportive of the Earthshot Prize.
I mean, I'm glad you're also bringing into the conversation of how, African innovators are almost whenever counted in the sustainability world, right? Whenever counted in the people who are actually doing something to protect our nature, or to fix, or to revive our oceans, right? Doing something to
Yeah.
really contribute to the sustainability and also to climate justice, right? But of course, you and Rewoven and many of your other organizations, but Rewoven particularly, you've just hit a 1.4 million kilograms mark. I want you to talk about that, please.
Yes, we did. And this was this was last year when we hit that mark. And it's been an interesting journey, I mean, to get there. It's weird because sometimes I'm like, how did we get there? I don't even know. It's all a bit of a haze, really, of sleepless nights, of just, yeah, being delusional as well, crazy work. But we really wouldn't have gotten to that milestone without some organizations that funded us, particularly as I mentioned, the Alan Gray Opus Foundation has been really instrumental in our journey. E Squared Investments was instrumental in our journey. Mandela Rhodes Scholarship was
Sure.
very instrumental in our journey as well. But also, like, when we came with the idea, you really rely on the industry, right? Like, you rely on the receptiveness of the industry to go anywhere. So the clothing manufacturers, the retailers, the designers, who, when we came to them, were like, hey, we have this crazy idea. We want to take your waste, and no one has done it before, but we want to see if we can recycle it. Them saying yes is the reason we're here, because them saying yes, take our waste, let's see what you guys can do with it. We kind of buy into this idea. We've never seen it happen before, but we're buying into it. That really helped us to kind of get things going. And then that allowed us to then also employ people and to kind of have a financially sustainable business. So there was a lot of moving parts, but I think I'm quite surprised because I think when we started, I was not sure if the industry would be receptive.
Receptive.
I've been really grateful and humbled. And it's really taught me like people want to do good, but people don't
Don't
know
know
how.
how.
So,
I always say that.
yeah,
Always say that we come up with the ways that we show them, right? That this is the ways that you can do good. But the resources to do it are always there. They just don't have the how.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So a lot of people were like, when we came to them and I asked them, like, what are you doing with the waste? They're like, what else can I do? I'm throwing it away. And sometimes the manufacturers would be like, and I feel bad about it because I just feel like you shouldn't be throwing this away and it's so much of it, but I just didn't know what else to do.
Wow.
So them deciding to take a chance on us, a young Black South African team, I'm really grateful for everyone's support in the idea.
Now, as is with every entrepreneur, there's always a goal, there's always something that you're working towards. What's the next goal for Rewoven?
Yes. So look, we've spent the first 3 years, 4 years, I don't even know how long it's been now, focusing on really understanding the collection side of the waste, because really the vision is to take waste, make it into product, make it into waste again. And we've kind of done things on the product side, but to get to the product side, you need to have enough waste coming in the first place, which is really the big challenge of most recycling companies. I think people think, oh yeah, there's so much waste, it's easy to recycle, but
So,
it's not as easy. It's not that easy to just get waste, even though there's so much waste out there. It's about getting the right waste, trying to get it in without spending too much money. So we spent a lot of years, like the first 3 years, just focusing on making sure we understand how much waste there is in South Africa, what can be recycled, who can we get it from, etc. And now the next couple of years of Rewoven is really focusing on the part that I'm super excited about, which is making this into products. We have
sure.
piloted and made some products. We sell fabric, we sell recycled fabric, we've sold recycled t-shirts, but now we really want to like increase our product line and really like sell products. So that idea you were mentioning about a brand, maybe that's what's in store for Rewoven.
I think you're being very secretive right now, but it's fine. It's going to be worth the wait. Okay, before we say goodbye to you, the biggest problem is our everyday and trying to convince the people in our lives, our families, our friends, about sustainable fashion, about recycling, about protecting our nature. What are some of the ways, or different language, right? Because I always find that with language, we find words, we find ways of explaining why, right? So what is the language? What is the strategy that we can be able to use in terms of just really having the conversation with our families to be aware, having the conversation with our friends to be aware, right? Because we're on this live and we're chatting to you and we're constantly, I'm sure everyone is thinking, oh gosh, I'm going to look around my home and think, what are some of the things that I feel I've contributed to, right?
Mm,
Unconsciously to just the way of life, right? And
mm,
what's
I
been sold
love
to
that.
us. But we want to make a conscious effort of changing. But we also know that people don't live alone. People live with big families, especially Abantu who are in the townships, right? Who don't even have a cooking clue about climate change and climate justice. They just think, oh, we're supposed to be in the heat. We're supposed to be in a heat wave during winter, but it's abnormal, right? So what are some of the
Mm,
things that we
mm.
can be able to do? But also, what's the language that we can use?
Nomzamo, this thing about language is so huge. It's so huge because that's why I was like earlier on, I don't want to be jargony, because sometimes language can be exclusive
Sure.
and it can make people feel like, oh, I'm not part of the club. I don't understand all of this sustainability, slow fashion, sustainable fashion, or ethical fashion, whatever. And you lose people and now no one's interested.
Sure.
When people actually want to do good, but now you're adding all these academic terms and nobody now knows what you mean. And in my earlier years of kind of starting out with Rewoven, I went to Sweden, I think it was 2019, and I went to the sustainability workshop. It was all on sustainable fashion, very early days of Rewoven. And I was just like mind blown. I was like,
Mhm.
oh my God, They know so much about sustainability and like sustainable fashion. I have to take this back home. Everybody has to kind of, how do I bring this knowledge back home? And then coincidentally, when I came back to South Africa, I had to go back. I'm from the Eastern Cape. I had to go back home, but to my grandmother's home because there was a traditional ceremony, as you know, as African people. And, I'm there in the Eastern Cape, Epedi. And it hit me, like it just hit me, just seeing how everyone was living Epedi, the way of life, how when there's a traditional ceremony and, the slaughter an animal, they use every single part of that animal, how our relationship to nature and our interconnectedness with nature and the
Sure.
environment, understanding that we have never seen ourselves separate from the environment. So we actually take care of the environment. And it kind of hit me like, oh, we've always been sustainable. Our culture is like always been sustainable as African people. Like if you think about it, even though now we're kind of moving away from that way of life, but those norms are still there. We talk about in South Africa, like iskaftin, because no, why would you waste something? Put it in as kaftin, or I think about the orange bag, the sack that
Comes
we
the
keep the
body
oranges
scrub.
in. Exactly. If you use that to scrub, you use it to clean your house because let's reuse things. And I was like, oh my God, we don't need to learn something from the West that, because then that's also when you're playing catch up, right? You're always trying to learn what they're doing. I was like, no, we actually have always been doing this. What we need to do is actually we need to remind ourselves of our own way of being, and remember that this is in us instead of trying to learn from someone else. And in fact, what I actually think is maybe they need to be learning from us is actually the point that I've gotten to. So
Sure.
basically, what I'm saying is it all comes back to us remembering who we are. And I was actually chatting to someone who was like, oh yeah, I was living in the rural areas and I moved to like, the township areas. And when they were in the township, they used to have their own little garden and they had their own veggies and stuff because that's how they used to do things when they were in the rural areas. And then someone made fun of them. They were like, oh, that's so backward. We buy things from shops now. We buy things from supermarkets. And, that's kind of what you need to do. And then this person's like, oh, then I started doing that. But now you're telling me now with the whole sustainability movement, and organic living and sustainable living, now you're telling me that the way I used to do things is basically what I need to do, and it just brought back this point of the way we used to do things is sustainable. African culture has always been sustainable. We have always understood the interconnectedness between nature and people and money. We don't see ourselves as separate from the environment, we know that our healing comes from the environment, and we just need to go back to that thinking. So that's my solution, is just to remember who we are, go back to our way of being. The way we're so sustainable, we don't even have a word for it because for us, it's just,
Absolutely.
this is
It's
how
a
we
way
do
of
things.
life. It's a way of
Exactly.
life. Yeah. It's always how we've been. Even with with the animal skin, it becomes something in the home, right? I
Exactly.
was going to say goodbye, but I'm not going to say goodbye without asking this particular question. Sorry. I'm not
No
going to have a
problem.
peaceful night. Um, Greatest success for Rewoven and on a personal level for yourself, and the greatest challenge and how
Mm,
you over. See how I couldn't walk
you.
away from that?
I kind of wish we had,
Sorry.
because these are difficult questions that you're asking me. The biggest success for Rewoven is in that, the 1.4 million sure, diverted from landfill, sure, but those jobs that we created, that was everything for
How
me.
many jobs
We
created?
created over 10, 11 jobs on busy season, like 11, 12. And the reason that's such a big thing for me is because a lot of the people that we employ, some of them, we find them on the side of the road. Because how guys, with the high unemployment in South Africa, people will just sit on the side of the road waiting for a piece job. And
Yep.
that's a lot of how we got a lot of our guys, just sitting on the side of the road. And when they start, no one has a phone. No one even has a bank account. They can't even afford to buy lunch to come to work. We'd have to give them an advance so that they can
Wow.
get lunch, to come to work. And what's been like super meaningful for me is to watch how, they come in and they start, and then at some point you start seeing guys buying themselves a farm,
Yeah.
start seeing them bringing lunch to work, like something small as
Wow.
someone bringing lunch to work. Like,
Wow.
yes, yes. Job well done. Like 1.4 million kilograms of waste
Sure.
diverted,
First
absolutely
on.
amazing.
Hi.
But we wouldn't have done it without those guys and the impact that this idea has had on them. I wish I could try amplify that more. So that's the big kind of, yeah, I would say that's a goal or a highlight for me on a personal level.
Yeah.
Really is just to touch people's lives. What was your last question? You asked me something else that I forgot now.
Harder one, which was the greatest challenge.
The greatest challenge, oh my God, is believing yourself. Like that's to be an entrepreneur is such a trip, because especially like when we came up with this, I think people now see things now and they're like, oh my God, it looks like it's always been amazing and stuff, but no, it hasn't. Like my co-founder and I always say, like, you're crazy until you're not, which basically means like when you start an idea, people will be like,
Crazy.
oh, that's exactly, oh, that's sweet. Like, this doesn't even make sense. It sounds a bit crazy. Or, good luck, go for it. But we don't actually think you're gonna, be successful. So when
Wow.
you start, people don't believe in you. You know what I mean? And my co-founder and I will say, you're crazy until you're not. Just do it and show them, and then they'll get it. They don't get it now, but they'll get it. But that's been a very big challenge to overcome, is for me to believe it in myself. And that's also what keeps me going, is I want to see it as well. I want to see it be real as well, because I'm trying to convince myself as well. So, which is not easy. It's not easy, getting some of these clients onboarded. It's
Oh
not
yeah.
easy. It
Oh
took me
yeah.
3 years to just get one client. So yeah, it's not easy, but that has been the biggest challenge, is to believe in myself and to just do it, despite all the many challenges on the journey. Just do it. Just convince yourself of your own idea. Yeah.
First of all, we're glad that you moved past the hurdle of non-self-belief. And we're glad that
Mm.
you get to the place of self-belief enough to do such important work. It's incredible. It is inspiring. And I know that everybody here who's been a part of this conversation has left very, very changed. I know I'm changed for sure. But thank you. Thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for your self belief. Thank you for Rewoven and many, many other organizations that you are founder, co founder of, and continuing to just collaborate and build a better world. It's very easy for us to look the other way, and it's much harder for us to confront the problems, right? And I'm very inspired by a Black woman who's doing incredible work, but also who's really changing the narrative for African innovators. So bravo to you, bravo to Rewoven, and thank you for tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank
Thank you
you,
for giving us.
Ndabula Nkosi. Thank you, Sis
Siyabonga,
Ndabula.
siyabonga, sis. Siyabonga, sis. Wow.
Thank you.
Wow, that was so good. That was so good. Woo! I don't know why I feel so expansive. I feel so inspired. I feel like just maybe it's Esetu's energy, maybe it is just how brilliant she is and how sure she is of the work that she's doing and why it's important. And also she just does it so effortlessly. Gosh, that was so good. African luxury is also on this call, or Africa on Luxury, I should say. Africa on Luxury is also on this call. So I'm glad, because you're in the luxury space, so we were able to have this conversation. But thank you so much to Multi Choice. Gosh, thank you to everyone who stayed on this call. Olwe to Dr. Nkia was also here. I kept on seeing all the comments. You guys were so fantastic. Really, really, really fantastic. And thank you for just like being so encouraging as well, so that we can just continue to just give us these gems, right? So that we can be able to move through the world in a much better way. That's a much more conscious way for us to take care of our planet. It is cool, it is amazing, and it is profitable. You heard her, right? So Chibane says informative. I agree. Muzi, inspiration stuff. Ndombo, absolutely. Luther says that was inspiring. Yes. Her handle, please go to at Rewoven. So you'll find her at Rewoven. She's absolutely amazing. And her name is Esethu Tenga. Esethu Tenga. So go and Google, go and search on Instagram. Please, please, please follow her. I think she's just brilliant. And that 1.4 million kilograms mark is going to be 10 billion kilograms in no time. You guys heard about the facts about how we are affecting our planet, but also the fact that there's so many African innovators who are doing brilliant work. So I'm so glad that I got to do this and I got to meet her, and I know I'm going to meet her hopefully in person very, very soon. And if Rewoven comes up with a clothing line, we are ready with our points. Okay, we are ready with our points. Thank you so much to the Earthshot Prize. We're so excited that you're coming to Cape Town this November. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you didn't join us in the beginning, the Earthshot Prize is a prestigious global environmental award that was founded by His Royal Highness Prince William, as well as the Royal Foundation. There are five pillars which are to tackle the world's most pressing and challenging problems when it comes to climate justice. The 5 pillars of the Earthshot Prize are to build a waste-free world, which is what Rewoven is doing. It is to clean our air. It is to fix our climate. It is to revive our oceans. And it is to protect and restore nature. We can't wait to host you, Earthshot Prize, but most importantly, thank you to every single one of you for joining us tonight. And I'll see you on the next Take Your Shot. Multi-choice group, you guys rock. Thank you. Bye. Oh, I'm going to save the live, by the way. I'm going to save the live, so if you missed it, you can be able to watch it. And you don't have to watch it like this. You can just play it in the background whilst you're making a nice meal for yourself. Bye. Don't forget, recycle, recycle.